Accordigalere, it is my happy and honoured task to introduce the next part of the proceedings to you. In a sense, this is the moment where we come home to ourselves, and I invite you to smell the gorse of the stage that has been lovingly prepared throughout this night by a team of people. Gorse is an ancient flower remedy for hope, invoking hope. And this team of people throughout the night have transformed what was effectively an aircraft hangar into a temple to allow us to move a step deeper tonight and today, to hear the words of two of the wisest men on the planet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Richard Moore. We come from all parts of the world, all searching for the same kind of truth. Who are we? What are we to be as true human beings? Not human doings, but human beings on the planet. And perhaps the simple message is to come home to ourselves. Now, I know one man who's a bit afraid backstage at the moment because he knows I'm introducing him, and that's Richard Moore, my great friend. He's afraid because A, I know him very well, and B, I have the microphone. But I feel that, there's so many things you could say about Richard. And when I really stopped to think, how could I introduce Richard Moore really to all of you and to the wider world today? Simplicity, grace, and faith are the three words that come to mind most of all. And as a mother of a small boy and a small girl myself, I cannot countenance for a second, like many of you couldn't, what it would be like to see your boy blinded at 10 years of age by a bullet fired by a soldier in the middle of a war and a desperate conflict, a blight on our history and a terrible reality for so many people still in the world today. But there was a moment of grace that happened to Richard, that enigmatic word grace. That happened the very time that bullet was fired, because Richard felt no vengeance for the soldier who fired it. And in a way, that grace has propelled Richard for the rest of his life to do amazing things. And he is really like a meteorite, this man, and yet maintains his extraordinary simplicity. I love the fact that despite having studied Braille, gone on to do a university degree, learning to cycle downhill in Derry after his accident, after his shooting, being taught by boys in Derry to cycle down a hill on his bicycle, that's an act of faith. But they say that great artists paint by faith, not by sight. And Richard has great faith. And the simplicity that he has that allows him, even to this day, 40 years on, that he actually spends every Tuesday night with his mother, his beloved mother, in Derry, and on a Saturday night goes to the folk group that he started. And he went on to do many, many other things, to become a hugely successful businessman, a very astute businessman. He was able to, with his Braille computer, calculate how many pints were served per hour in his pub, which is a pretty good feat and very important for an Irishman to be able to do. And to do so many, many things, and to bring so much laughter. Richard has literally had us doubled up in laughter many, many times. He shamed us all into doing the New York Marathon 2 years ago. Did I say shamed? Inspired, I should say. He inspired us all to do the New York Marathon with him 2 years ago because he announced it on the radio station that he had founded himself in Derry, and so we all had to do it with him. He is absolutely one of life's great triumphs for peace. He is an ambassador for peace. And so I think it is so poignant and so fitting that somebody as eminent and as wonderful, an ambassador, a Nobel Peace Prize winner himself, the Dalai Lama, who fled from Tibet on St. Patrick's Day in 1959, that he spotted these characteristics immediately in Richard. And I think he had the wisdom and the great sense of fun himself that he knew that if he hung out with Richard, he was going to be sure of a good time. So it just remains for me to say that in the words of the late, great John O'Donoghue, our own great Celtic scholar here, who died too soon a few years ago, and he said, you know, it's an amazing thing to think that the light that enables us all to see and radiates all around it, the light itself is blind. And I think that Richard is a point of light and an illumination. And so I invite you to please give him the warmest, warmest welcome now as he comes on stage with His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Yes, a lot of people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think, yeah. This is there.
Thank you. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you. You have a seat?
I am a chair.
Oh, you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Please sit down. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Your Honor?
Yes.
First of all, can I just say thank you to Claire for that wonderful introduction. I don't have anything to add. I'm just glad she didn't tell the truth. I also, at this point in time, would like to thank the two other organisations with Children in Crossfire that made this event possible. And that's AFRI and, of course, spunout. And in particular, I'd like to acknowledge Joe Murray and Rory McKiernan for their encouragement, support and energy for this event. And also, I would like to thank you for coming along here today, because without you, then we don't have an event. I have been asked to share my story briefly, and then, if you don't mind, I will introduce His Holiness then. Is that okay? As you know, I lost my eyesight in 1972 when I was shot and blinded by a rubber bullet in Derry when I was 10 years old. As you can imagine, it was a very difficult and traumatic experience for me, but in particular, my family. And I want to acknowledge that one of my family members is here today. My brother Noel is in the audience somewhere there, so and also my wife and children are also here in the audience. But as you can imagine, when a 10-year-old boy was shot and blinded, you would think that life is over. Life has ended for me. And that's what my parents thought. But to be honest, the worst thing that happened to me was being shot. After that, the only way was up. And my family and friends helped put the pieces of my life back together. And I eventually went back to primary school in Derry, went to secondary school in Derry, and went to university, Coleraine University, where I got my degree in 1983. I got married in 1984. I got divorced in 1985. I'm only joking, Rita. She'll be thinking he hasn't told me that yet. But, I have two children, Niamh and Enya, And I have a third daughter as well called Colleen, who virtually lives in our house now. But I've been very fortunate in life, and I've been surrounded by a lot of people. As you can imagine, blindness and being shot had its difficulties. I'm not pretending that there were times in my life that I don't miss my eyesight. Of course I miss my eyesight. And there are times when being blind was challenging. But generally, I am glad to say that blindness has been a positive experience for me. And why is that? It's because of four things. Because I come from a good family. Because I come from a good community. Because I had choices and opportunities available to me. And also because I never had any anger or any bitterness about what happened to me. And for those reasons, I believe that I am the person sitting here today in front of you. And I have often asked myself the question, how is it that a 10-year-old boy from Derry, blinded in such a traumatic way, and there were nothing special about me. I agree that my circumstances have made me different now, but there was nothing special about me. I was just an ordinary young boy from a family of 12 growing up in the Craigan estate in Derry. How is it that I was able to deal with such a traumatic experience? And I believe it was because of all those reasons. And as a result of that, as a result of the family, community, and friends, and opportunity, and the lack of bitterness, that I decided at one stage in my life that I wanted to give back to the community that I came from what I've received. And as a result of that, I set up Children in Crossfire in 1996 because I realized that there were children in other parts of the world who might have had their eyesight but didn't have what I had. And, you know, blindness has been a positive experience. In many ways, if I had to give up what I have enjoyed in life so far just to have my eyesight back, then I would prefer to remain blind. And that's why this event here is so important. Because ordinary, everyday people can make such a significant difference. And if I'm anything, I'm an example of how people have made a difference to my life. And as a direct result of the kindness and generosity and the actions of other people from all over the world in my life, then I was able to turn that into a positive experience through the work that I do through Children in Crossfire. And so therefore, I didn't end up coping with blindness simply. I end up enjoying being blind. And one of the blessings about being blind, Your Holiness, is I don't have to look at all these ones down here today. But so that is a blessing.
Including
you,
your wife,
including my wife. He always says how beautiful my wife is, because he knows it makes me jealous. But worse than that, my wife tells me how beautiful he is. But I often think of a story, a very simple story, when there was a woman called Teresa Matherson. And she's a wee woman from Ballynahinch in County Down. And when I lost my eyesight, and she read about it in the newspaper, she began to write letters to my mother. And she wrote letters for many years to my mother, and my mother still has never met that woman. I met her last year for the first time. I went to Ballynahinch in Northern Ireland, and I met her. And I just thought, there's one simple action by a woman in a small town in Northern Ireland who was moved when she heard about my mother's difficulties in her son being blinded, to the point where she wrote a letter to her almost every week. And I just think that is an amazing example of an action, of an individual taking action in the only way that she felt she could. And she will never know how much that meant to my mother. And so all of us here today have that potential to change somebody's life somewhere else in Ireland or in the world, if you just make that decision. I'll finish with a story about my mother. My mother was a very religious woman. She was a very devout Catholic. And when I got out of hospital, when I was young, I used to wear a little vest. And pinned across this vest here, my mother had every holy medal that you could think of. Every holy medal. And there were people who used to come in and visit my mother. And they used to give her a holy medal. And I used to go, oh my God, because I knew the minute they went out the door that that holy medal would be pinned to my vest. When I walked, I rattled. And every night, my mother used to lift the holy medal, stand me beside the kitchen sink, and she would lift the holy medals and rub them on my eyes. And then she would get out the Lourdes water, the holy water, and rub that in my eyes. Then the Dunwell water, and rub that in my eyes. Then the Knock water, and then St. Anne's oil. Somebody said I was lucky I didn't drown. But but my mother's prayers were that I would get my eyesight back. Well, I didn't get my eyesight back, but I believe I got a hell of a lot more out of life. And I always say, you can take away somebody's eyesight, but you can't take away their vision. And my vision is the work that I'm doing through Children in Crossfire. So thank you very much for listening to me. I know we're really here to hear His Holiness as well, which I am here as well, so to hear Him. But before we do, because at the end there's a few things happening, we would like to make the presentation to His Holiness first. And then I'll properly introduce him. There's a man standing at the side of the stage called Charlie Gallagher, and he created this piece of metal and worked at it and designed it. And the metal represents the connection between Celtic spiritual tradition and Tibetan spiritual tradition. And I would like to invite Charlie Gallagher on the stage now to present it to His Holiness.
Please, yeah.
All right, Charlie. Thank you.
A wee gift from us to you. It's a little gift from us to you. I'm a sword maker. I am a sword maker. And this is the only weapon that I can make that defends instead of kills. That brings peace instead of war. And I thought it was
Wonderful.
a
Thank
good
you.
idea for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hope it
Thank
looks
you much.
well for you.
Wait. Want to stop. So here.
Stay.
Want to stop.
Sorry.
Go.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I met His Holiness for the first time in 2000 in Derry. And when I met him, I was part of a committee I was invited onto the committee to organise part of his visit, where he specifically requested to meet victims of the Troubles in Derry. And that particular day, I heard His Holiness talk about forgiveness, and it resonated so much with how I felt. And I felt that His Holiness articulated for the first time what I felt. And I said to him, Your Holiness, you have expressed how I feel. And I told him I was blind. And he said, Richard, you might be blind, but you have great insight. So then I said, would you mind telling my wife that? He invited me to India, to Dharamshala at that time. And I went there last May for the first time and had a wonderful experience in Dharamshala with His Holiness and all the people that work with him there. To the point where, as you know, Derry people have a sense of humour, and now they call me the Dalai Lama. And even His Holiness calls me the Dalai Lama sometimes. But I just want to say it's a real honour for me today to sit here on this stage with the person I admire most in this world, someone who represents compassion, peace, non-violence consistently through his life. I am honoured that you have accepted our invitation. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you someone who is the patron of Children in Crossfire, someone who I am humbled to describe as my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, what I should call a Dalai Lama. Not a Dalai Lama, but a Dalai Lama. So, in any way, I always call him as my hero. Because I think one of the best human quality is compassion, affection. That also, you see, there are two levels. One, due to biological factor, affection, one another, like mother's affection to their youngster, and also youngsters' affection to their mother. That's a biological factor. In order to survive, the youngster, that affection is necessary. Then we human beings, with help of human intelligence, human wisdom, that affection can extend to the people who have no relative relations, or even your enemy. As far as their attitude is concerned, it's a harming to you. So we call enemy. But still, they also, same human being, they also want happiness, do not want suffering. So, genuine sense of concern of their well-being, that we human being, only human being can practice that, can sort of develop that, can practice that. So now, my hero here, when he got shot, instantly his eye lost. destroyed. But instead of sort of anger, frustration, one time he told me his sort of first sort of strong feeling was, now I can no longer see my mother's face. It's very touching, very touching. Instead of anger or frustration, hatred, and he felt more calm. So that we human beings can practice that, can develop that. Now here, how can develop these sort of what you call wisdom or human intelligence? The human intelligence can bring human action, realistic action, or positive action. Firstly, if you develop anger, hatred, that hatred, anger, not effect on your so-called your enemy, right? Only hatred, anger destroy your own peace of mind. And countermeasure, as far as countermeasure is concerned, without hatred, without anger, using intelligence, if necessary, in order to bring some benefit to both yourself and the perpetrator. Through intelligence, you can take certain appropriate measure. That measure can be more realistic because that measure take within the mental state calm, right? And using intelligence, not emotion. And then another sort of factor, we are social animal. Individual's future, individual's sort of happy life entirely depend on the rest of the community. So even animals like bees, ants, those social animals, the individual survival, individual sort of happiness depend on the rest of the community. So we essentially social animal. And particularly today's reality. Just I mentioned to press meeting, today's reality, the entire now nearly 7 billion human beings, very much interconnected, interdependent. Not only nation to nation, but continent to continent, heavily interdependent. That's a new reality. In economy field, global economy field, heavily interdependent. And environment issue, also heavily interdependent. That's the reality. That's the new reality. So therefore, the sense of global responsibility, it's a oneness of entire humanity. That, I think, for our future, we really need some kind of genuine sense of concern of well-being of entire humanity, or well-being of the planet itself. That we really need. That is the realistic approach. So these things, we human beings have the potential, no other animal. I think he demonstrated that. We have that kind of potential. So now when we look world, a lot of problems. Some are nature disaster. That beyond our control. then larger portion of problem which we are facing is essentially our own creation. Many problems we ourselves, you see, created. Meantime, nobody want problem. But problem, created by ourselves. Why? Lack of awareness, the reality, due to short-sightedness and due to strong self-centered attitude. Then our approach become often unrealistic approach. Any unrealistic approach brings disaster. So since we want happy life, we have to take about the well-being of the planet itself, or well-being of entire humanity, and including different species of mammals. These different sort of animals, birds, these also something like the ornament, right? Ornament of the beauty of the planet, of nature. I don't know. Mosquito consider an ornament, I don't know. Oh, one you see Tibetan monk, scholar, and also the great practitioner.
Yeah.
He described mosquito Tambulimpujen.
Bee which plays flute.
Ka.
A bee which plays flute. An insect.
A bee that plays.
An insect which plays flute.
Oh, because you see, his sort of sound, his sort of the
Plays flute.
the shabbat kasa. Wings, oh, wings. Oh, his sound of the wings, something like that. So you see that monk described, you see the small insect with flu or something. Oh, so he mentioned like that. So maybe listen that, look that aspect. He also brings some nice sort of tune. in any way, you see the respect any form of life, trees, flowers, and then animals. Once we develop some kind of sense of caring of these living things, then our attitude towards the human being also becoming much more positive. That those people who really don't care about different form of life, particularly animal, like fish or other animal, then they are gradually, those people who no hesitation to kill, to beat, to animal, now these people eventually towards human life also a little bit different. So therefore, the taking care of well-being of others is something very, very precious. Now here, I myself, you see, some experience as a result of practice of genuine sense of concern of well-being of entire humanity, entire sort of sentient lives. That really brings tremendous sort of inner peace. And also, you see, that brings genuine friendship based on genuine trust. And also, I myself, you see, because, you see, warm-heartedness sort of attitude, I can communicate with people very easily, very frankly, very sort of openly. So that brings trust. That brings mutual friendship. We human beings, we need friendship because we are social animals. Genuine cooperation, very essential. Cooperation entirely based on friendship, trust. So hypocritical way is really destroy trust and create suspicion. Even if it's a rich family, a billionaire, very rich, but within the family level, some suspicion, some distrust, then that member of the entire family will not get real sort of happiness. Economically, little poorer, but within the family, full trust, no sort of slightest sort of suspicion or jealousy, then that family much happier. So the ultimate source of happy life not depend on matter, not depend on money, not depend on power, but depend on our inner good quality. So that whether believer or non-believer, warm-heartedness, inner quality is very essential. So please pay more attention about our inner quality. For health reason also, some medical scientists, you see, they say the calm mind, more not too hot, compassionate. Yeah. Yeah. So, compassionate heart reduce fear, anger, frustration, or stress. That very good for our health. Constant fear, constant anger, hatred is actually, according to some medical scientists, they say eating our immune system. So for our health reason also, calm mind is very essential. Then happy family, happy community, this warm-heartedness is very, very important factor. So that, and that very much related with the sense of global sense of global responsibility. So that I want to share with you. And then basically we human nature, I believe, more gentleness. Because our life start in the atmosphere of affection. As you mentioned, you see your mother. Yeah. Your mother sort of taking fullest care of this young boy. Yeah. So you have you also develop the potential of that, the forgiveness. If your mother, without, if at a young age, your mother lost, or is a mother's attitude not that much affectionate one, you may not get that kind of inner potential. Yeah. Clear? Yeah, clear. So therefore, that's the life start that way. Whether God created or nature created, that's the way. So essentially, we are, since social animal, so therefore, essentially, human beings are more gentleness and more compassionate. So please realize that, and then pay more attention about our inner quality. So, with this inner quality, what benefit you will get? This is one example. Lost eyesight, but on his face, many occasions I met him, I see his face. No, never. I saw never some kind of feeling of sadness or feeling of sort of frustration. Or maybe 24 hours in his home, sometimes maybe a little irritation, maybe. But as far as I notice, no. So that's immense benefit to him. So he's good example. My case, compassion, just a word, talk. He really implemented that. So more sort of inner strength there, the forgiveness automatically comes. Too much sort of frustration or weak, inside weak, then frustration often or easily can develop. Irritation, anger come. When inner sort of strength there, self-confidence, with others' affection, then go through difficult period, you can maintain inner peace. So comparatively, with Tibetan also passing through difficult period, but can maintain inner peace. So that, generally speaking, our community, much more happier community, like that. So now, I want to tell, particularly those young people, I just mentioned to the press meeting, and wherever I go, I always mentioning those older people, like myself, now over 70. We belong to 20th century. Now we are 21st century. Those people like me who belongs to 20th century now ready to say bye-bye. So now these young people, I doubt, already over 60. So, anyway, see, you're physical, mentally very energetic, so I can consider you as a young person.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes I teasing, you see him, this little stomach. So in order to make some sort of contribution, betterment of the world, betterment of the community, and directly, you see, Northern Islander, where on Ireland itself, you see, his health, his life is very important. So his health is very important. So too much weight, not good. So I want to tell you, you should follow Buddhist monk sort of practice. No dinner. Only breakfast and lunch, no dinner. So if you follow that, maybe. So you see, those generation who belongs to 21st century, now whether this century be a happy century or a century of bloodshed, entirely depend on these younger generation. So the younger generation, you really have very important sort of role on your shoulder. So I think time is gone. Think as sort of usual way of thinking. Your own family, concern your own family, concern your own community within this certain sort of boundary. Now that I think outdated. Now think more about whole planet and whole community. That also very helpful. You see, when you think just oneself, even a small problem appears very big, unbearable. When you think the problem from wider perspective, then even that serious of problem, then appears not that much serious. That much I also have this sort of same experience. So here I want to share you one occasion in America. I think Columbia University or something, discussion, some scientist about health. Then one scientist, he told our meeting, according to his sort of research work, that those people who often sort of use the word of I, my, me, like that, he said there is greater risk of heart attack. He didn't sort of explain, but I thought, oh, that may be true. Because once, you see, too much sort of self-centered attitude, then your whole mind becomes more narrow. So with narrow-mindedness, even small problem appears unbearable. When you think about well-being of others infinite, so your mind becomes automatically very wide. So through that way, even serious problem may not appear something very unbearable way, like that. So that, I think, makes differences. So therefore, whether believer or non-believer, please pay more attention about our inner quality, warm-heartedness, which our mother brought us. So that is important. So I want to tell you. And then also at the meeting, press meeting, I mentioned or respond to a young person. Human intelligence, really marvelous intelligence. But that intelligence sometimes also become very destructive. Some of these troublemakers, like September 11th sort of event. Only human being can do that with help of modern technology. So here, human intelligence produce these sophisticated sort of weapons or sophisticated sort of the machines, and then this mind also, you see, carry sophisticated sort of plan, then these disasters happen. So intelligence alone sometimes causing more destruction. And individually, himself or herself also, you see, intelligence alone sometimes bring more anxiety, more worry, more jealousy, more anger, more stress. So, in order to bring this human wonderful intelligence become more constructive, warm-heartedness is the key factor. Human intelligence combined with warm-heartedness, sense of well-being of other, sense of, compassion or affection, combine these two things, then human intelligence really become constructive, not only benefit to other, but also you yourself also have inner peace, inner strength. So your future becoming much more happier, much more constructive. So now some questions. Thank you very much. So please think more. Okay. Yes. Now some questions.
Joe was going to say.
Okay, thank you very much to His Holiness and to Richard for not just for the words, but for the inspiration and example of their lives. And now we're going to have a short time for some questions. And the first questioner needs a lot of respect and encouragement. It's 11-year-old Deirdre Byrne, and she has the first question for His Holiness.
Your Holiness, what advice would you give to the people of Ireland at this time?
Basically, you're also part of humanity. As I mentioned already, then here, I think with global economy problems, the nation here also is facing some problems. So now, when you passing through such difficult period, determination, self-confidence, hard work is very essential. When you face some problem, then too much of distress and hopelessness and demoralize. And I heard some young people prefer leaving some other country, like Canada and Australia, like that. Of course, it is individual right, but you see, more self-confidence, there's some certain difficulties, you see, due to our own past mistake or past carelessness. Now, you must work hard with more intelligent way. That's, I think important. So I want to tell you, no need discourage or hopelessness. With self-confidence, work hard. You should have firm determination. That I want to tell you. Look at we Tibetan. In my own case, at the age of 16-year-old, I lost my own country. I lost my freedom. Then, age 24, I lost my own country, and a lot of destructions happened in my own country, but no reason to feel discouraged, demoralized, and become something of hopelessness. So instead of that, the tragedy transformed more inner strength, self-confidence, determination, work hard. So that's important. Next question.
Thank you. And just to explain that the questions being asked were not necessarily written by the people who are asking them. They were selected in advance and they're being asked by a representative group. So our second question comes from Ian Atack.
Your Holiness and Richard, thank you very much for your inspiring talk today and also for your presence here with us today in Ireland. My question for you is this. How do you contribute to society and humanity while at the same time continuing to provide for your family? I can understand how this might be possible if you have access to sufficient funds and resources, but if those funds and resources don't exist, how do you proceed if you need to spend all your time providing for your family?
Kalsa resources kare. Deriba. Kang nu kors boina. Now my as a main commitment or main interest is promotion of human value, promotion of human inequality. There, each individual have the the potential. Now, firstly, you see, create happier community, not through law, not through government, but through individual. Firstly, the society means, or community means, combination of individual. So in order to create a more compassionate community, firstly, individual person in the family must practice these inequality out of awareness. Then create or share with the rest of your family member. Then one family, then 10 family, 100 family, through that way. some cases, I think some of my friends, you see, they create some kind of zone of peace, or zone of non-violence. First, 10 families, certain sort of area, then 100 families. I think that's the way. Real change of the humanity initiative must start from individual. So each of us have the potential to make contribution, better future, better for the world community. Then in economy, process so these facility from birth, we already have. You see, these potentials are there. Then in economy facilities, these, as I mentioned before, mentally, you see, we must be determined and discourage, and with sort of determination. But how to make money, that I don't know. So, I think you have some response?
Oh, no, I'm okay.
I'm okay. So what is your main point?
My main point was, how do you continue to contribute to society if you need to worry about looking after your family, especially in these difficult times?
I think basically like that, as I mentioned earlier, even economically difficult, but basic necessity, I think sufficient. Then important is pay more attention about our inner value. You can be very happy family. Through that way, can increase 10 families, 100 families, 1,000 families. That's my view. Then I think economy, I think will improve. And you need visions and work hard. Next question.
Okay. And question 3 is from Charo Lano Madden.
Thank you. Your Holiness, what do you think in the sense of that if reason or the rational mind is an aid or an obstacle to the development of compassion?
Because I can just on that. I think if you carefully listen my talk, I already mentioned that. Human compassion, two aspects or two levels. One level, biological factor. That level, not much direct connection with human intelligence. Even animals, also certain limited, even limited compassion, limited altruism there, those social animals. So we human beings, also social animals. So biological factor, you see, that's there. Now that take as a seed, then further develop that. You see, that limited compassion only oriented others' action, others sort of positive action towards you, and then you develop some kind of affection, closeness feeling. But then second level of affection, compassion, irrespective with other sort of attitude, but recognize others also just like me, want happiness, do not want suffering. On that level, develop sense of concern of their well-being. So that is only human being can develop that, not other animal. Because we have this wisdom, as I mentioned earlier, individuals' sort of future depend on them. So taking care about them. The best way to take care oneself is taking care of others. That's the best way to bring maximum happiness to oneself. That human intelligence, without human intelligence, you can't develop that. Clear? Some connection? Good. Now next.
Okay, do we have time for another question? Charo, do you have another question, or do we want to move to Deirdre? Deirdre has a second question. This is
Your Holiness, when was the last time you laughed really hard and why?
That's that. Come on. Difficult question now. I think from morning, always laughing. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. Perhaps each day they laugh before sleep. That's one day's last laughing. Marve. Otherwise, again tomorrow, again start, go like that. So you can't say what is the last laughing, right? Difficult to say. That's rather philosophical question. Yes. Now next question.
Okay, we have another question from Ian.
What advice can you give to people living in today's fast-paced environment where it seems that the main events affecting your life are under the control of people that you will never meet and may never see?
Now, it is, I think, a fact. World belongs to humanity. Different nations belongs to that nation's people, not government, not individual. Then, I think among the existing sort of system, I think best way, which closer to sort of what's the power of people, that's a democratic sort of system. So when you carry election, you should think seriously and should choose right person, right party. Then if they're doing as you expected, then next election you can change. I think, and then also I just mentioned the press meeting, and as you see usual, wherever I go, wherever I meet, you see, media people, I always telling them, in democratic society, in order to build healthy society, healthy political party, healthy politicians, and the healthy religious leaders, or healthy businessmen, you see, the media people have very important role. That is, media people should have long nose as long as elephant nose. Then smell. Behind and front, of course, everybody should try to be nice, but we must smell. And what is going on behind? And then inform public clearly what is going on. And provided must be very honest, truthful, objective, not biased. That also very important in order to build sort of what's a genuine, constructive, democratically elected leadership or government. That's my view. Then global level, I think, unfortunately, like Copenhagen summit about global issue, the national issue seems to say more important than global issue. So that Copenhagen meeting failed to produce satisfactory sort of guidance or result. So still, we, including many leaders, is still thinking the sort of past way of thinking, my nation, and sometimes my party. The reality is no matter what one individual important nation is still part of the world. So number one priority should be global issue, global sort of interest. Then national interest, because their own nation, part of the world, like global warming, no matter what nation. So like that. So that these things, I think, the information, I think, very important. When we firstly came to India as a refugee, no idea about importance of global ecology issue. Then meeting with some specialist about environment issue. Then I realized, oh, it is very, very important. So through awareness, through education, through information, I developed this sort of the sense of concern. And small sort of, my own sort of contribution. I never take bath taps are bath tap, only shower. So small contribution for safe water. And then whenever I leave my room, I always put off light. Not much effective, not much sort of significant, but I feel it is my sort of duty, make a little contribution. Preserve energy, like that. So each individual, through awareness, through information, you can develop certain sort of moral responsibility, and carry 1 person, 100 person, 1,000 person, 100,000 person, that really makes effect. So then eventually, I think sometimes I feel United Nations, the highest world sort of body, isn't it? But sometimes that United Nations body of government, not necessarily people, isn't it? So there are some still some drawbacks. Time passes, things will change. I think a human being, generally speaking, I think a better education. So with education, better vision, meantime, a sense of global sort of responsibility, sense of compassion. These out of our effort, grow, then I think better world will come. I think within this century, I think that things will change if we make more effort with vision, with using intelligence, and with sense of responsibility. I think we can change, we can improve our world, better world. And also, I often say, expressing 20th century becomes century of bloodshed. From our previous experience, our experience from previous sort of century, now this century, now according to some historian, the 20th century, through violence, through war, more than 200 million of people killed, and limitless people suffer. Yet, not solve our problem. Still problem there. So now, the only realistic way to solve this problem is through dialogue. Therefore, this century, 21st century, should be century of dialogue. So these, through awareness, through our experience, through information, make effort by individual. That's my view. Then eventually, I think things can change. Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much to His Holiness and to Richard, and I think the best way to thank them is through music. So we're going to invite the internationally acclaimed Noreen Nireen to bless Richard and His Holiness, to entertain us and to lead us to lunch afterwards. And she will later be joined by her son, Molly. Thank you very much.
Exultemus et in ipso iucundemur, timeamus et amemus Deum vivum, et ex cordei diligamus nos sincero. Exaltulo, exaltulo. Mos matti drurgaling I vela con manum, ach, no schenig I manum sjökuihe. The earth and all the plants that grow, the trees and all the fruits they show, the very beasts my hope that know, all in your homestead you unite. The running waters, lakes and seas, and all the fishes swimming free, the birds in windy air that be, these are the stuff of your delight. These are the stuff of our delight. Since to God's will our spirit clings, we are possessors of all things. Peace is flowing like a river, out through you and me, spreading out into the desert, setting all our spirits free. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, spreading out into the desert, setting all our spirits free. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, spreading out into the desert, setting all our spirits free.
Goddess, which we call Goddess Tara, for long life, for healthy body, and also wealth. So, I want to give him, you see, this statue with prayer, with hope, his constructive life or life, something like mortal, or practice of forgiveness, practice of loving kindness. So his life should long several decades so that he can show the inner, or also the positive result of inner quality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You. Now one stop. Thank you. Thank you. I will go this way. I will go this way.
Where's he going? All the bodyguards running the other?
cáid a chuoin. Agus a chuoin óga. Sara meg brise a chuoin. Tá vís a smaoineh gur mise a bhí mar bhór mo ansa agus is úntach an ór a bé sin. So His Holiness and Richard, who have just left us. Dear friends, so I was very much aware that I was your voice there in that huge honour of blessing His Holiness. But I wonder if you would also join, if just before, as a little, to whet your appetite, if you might join me in a little chant. I was also very much aware that you might. So just no may the one before you break. If you want, you can sit down or stay standing. It'll only be a minute. Well, féach oring an sa bailithe an sa chun an ócáid óntach sa a bheith le chéile. Is mirúilt amachchas amach. And as we're here to celebrate His Holiness and Richard, and indeed the wisdom that we have learned over the morning, which has just been so momentous and historical, isn't it wonderful to be part of a revolution? And so, indeed, absolutely. So just on a very personal note, you can't see it now, but I have a very delicate little sensitive apparatus sticking into my ear, which my son Molly tells me is called a Madonna mic. Now, Madonna has nothing got to do with the Virgin Mary or the Mother of God, but it was a little device that was created by the American rock singer in the 90s called Madonna. And so it's a very sophisticated, but it's quite sophisticated to put into your ear. And as John was there battling away and strapping me into this for the last hour, I was thinking of that lovely story of the priest in County Clare, the parish priest, who in the 70s installed a microphone system in his church. And he went out the first Sunday, checking that everything was on, and he said, "Name's Hans Donovan, the Lord be with you." And there wasn't a reply. The congregation were totally silent. And so then he said, bewildered, he said, "I'll try this again." And so, "Name's Hans Donovan, the Lord be with you." And still not a thanks a million. And still not this makes the microphone all the more important. And still not a reply from his congregation. So then he went up to the mic like this, and he tapped it, and he hissed into it, "There's something drastically wrong with this bloody mic." And all of a sudden, everybody said, "And also with you." So this is a little chant from County Donegal, an ancient chant, and it's got two words, and very appropriate actually. The first one is an Irish word called shine, which means to sing or play, but also sounds like light, like sight, like insight. And the second is a Hebrew word, hallelujah. And so it's got three little phrases, two short and one long, and you can air your lungs here in this communal in resonance and in harmony with His Holiness and with Richard. And so this is the first phrase. Shine, hallelujah. 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 Now you have the whole chant, and you can sing harmony with it in keeping with the Irish version of harmony, which singing in harmony is singing any note your neighbour isn't. So off you go on that. And then we'll break it up into little parts. And then I'll lead you out for your lunch. Okay, here we go. Shine, hallelujah. Shine, hallelujah. Shine, hallelujah. Shine, hallelujah. Shine, hallelujah. Shine, hallelujah. shine.